morning. We're going to get started. We're going to start this morning with prayer by Commissioner Tom Pine from the 5th Ward of Susquehanna Township.
Let's bow our heads a minute. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day. We ask your blessings on all of us and on our families, and especially this day on our elected officials, our public officials who serve us every day. We ask you to give them wisdom and strength, wisdom to know your will, strength and courage to do your will. And we ask your blessing on our whole government system, that we may be living according to your will, and that all people in our country will benefit from it. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Now if we could stand and do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Graham Hetrick has been the coroner of Dauphin County since 1990. In that time, he has supervised hundreds of homicide investigations. Graham has received numerous honors during his career. He is adjunct professor at the Harrisburg University of Science and Technology, where he teaches forensics and anatomy. Graham served in the U.S. Army and was president of the Hetrick Funeral Home from 1975 to 2003. Please help me welcome the always fascinating Dauphin County Coroner, Graham Hetrick.
I was just thinking, who the heck wants to talk to the coroner this early in the morning? Of course, it's good that you can talk to the coroner, and I'm not looking at you, you know. I live a weird life, and I should have known when I was born above a funeral home that this ain't going to be a normal ride, right? But born above a funeral home. My father was a funeral director, and I never wanted to be a funeral director. Ended up being a funeral director for, I think it was 25, 30 years. But in the interim between that, when I ran away from not wanting to be a funeral director and wear black suits and drive long black cars, I was in the service and ended up in the service at an interesting time during the Vietnam era. So I was overseas. Ended up, though, actually being, because I could read, write, and speak German, I ended up being Provost Marshal Investigator for the southern half of Germany. And so I spent time as an investigator over there, and I would always do the biologicals and the forensic stuff because they'd say, have Hetrick do that because his dad's a funeral director. He's used to that stuff. So that's how I got into it, and I liked it very much. When I came back and went back to college, finished my bachelor's, and I wanted to do some graduate work, I had to work for somebody. And so I started working for my dad, and I got very interested in loss and loss recovery. At that time, there was a woman called Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and she wrote multiple books on the grieving process. Fascinated me. I was doing graduate work in psychology, so that's how I ended up coming back and working for my father and then saying, hey, he's doing what she's portraying in the books, and I realized that there was a true process to what he was doing as a funeral director. Ended up being a funeral director and helping families here. But always loved the forensics, went back into it when I was capable of doing so, and since 1990, I have been the coroner here in Dauphin County, which is a very varied area with a very varied populace. So we have the city, and the city, capital city with its typical problems. We have the upper end, which has everything from farm accidents to people being gored by deer. I mean, you can just see just about anything there. And then we have the normal problems with suburbia. So what I have is I have a view of America from a body bag. And it's totally different than many people have, because on a day-to-day basis, I'm faced with mortality. 3 or 4 days ago, I was giving a speech. Oh, it was during 9/11, which, by the way, I worked down at the scene of 9/11, and it is seared into my brain what I saw down there, and it is amazing to me how few people even remembered on September the 11th what happened to this country. So how quickly we forget. But from a body bag, these things have more influence, I think, on your life. So what's my view from the body bag? It doesn't matter whether we're talking federal government or state government right now. We are standing on the edge of a cliff, and there is an enormous, enormous chasm down below us. And I can't tell you what's at the end of that chasm. But I know that the sudden stop is going to hurt. Just the other day, Bernanke and the Fed decided they're going to print more money because they want to help the stock market. They don't want us to crash. Well, this is a fabulous idea, and it was done once before by the Bundestag prior to Hitler taking over, when you had to have a wheelbarrow. And I actually have some of these Bundesmarks at my house that a lady gave me when I was working in Germany. You had to have almost a wheelbarrow. I think I have a $100,000 bill, Bundesmark bill. That's how bad inflation is. You can't print money and not make it monopoly money. If you notice yesterday, the stock market went up, the dollar went down. That's because the dollar isn't going to be worth a pinch of you-know-what. And I feel that every time I go to the gas pump. We are pushing a problem onto others. Now, there's two types of leadership. There's leadership by power, and then there's leadership by servant leadership. And let me tell you the difference between the two types of leaders. And this has nothing to do with party, it has to do with attitude. Because quite frankly, I'm a member of the Republican State Committee, and most of the leadership doesn't like me. Because I'm going to tell them what I just told you. That there are people that will be in power because they want more power. Or they're enamored with power. They want to stay in power. So they will do the short-term thing. Whether it's good for you or not, it's for them to stay in office. If you start printing money now, it's so that politicians can stay in office. That's why this is being done. So you can say, hey, look at the stock market, it's up 240. You know, I know, the financials are not good. If you look at that state budget that Sue put out, you see from the revenues coming into the state that we have a contracting economy, not an expanding economy. You can see, if you work in the inner city, as my wife and I do, with a charity called Estamos Unidos, and we're trying to help Hispanic people. My wife is Hispanic. We're sort of like Lucy and Desi reversed, you know. That's it. But you can see what a little bit of gas and a 37% increase in food is doing to people. It's tearing them up. I've been noticing as I drive around more people carrying gas cans because they've tried to push their car till Friday, till the check comes. You know, that's how bad it is. I can survive a lot of this, but they can't. This is tragedy for them. For me, it's an inconvenience to put $60 in the vehicle. For them, it's hell. Now, the question is, what are we going to do? This room should be crowded because there should be warning lights everywhere saying we are about ready to lose our republic. Most people graduating from high school nowadays don't even know what a republic is. They think we're a democracy. And we are not. We're a republic, a representative democracy. It's a totally different thing. We ourselves, and I take the blame with this as many others do, we have not been good stewards as to who we let into office. We've been letting in people that want to amass their own power or their party's power. Back in 1796, George Washington said that what will destroy this republic if we don't watch it is the two-party system, because the people will be concerned about their party and not what's good for the nation. And this is exactly what I see today. I see, and we're all sick of it. I'm sick of personal attacks. I'm sick of people not looking and judging facts and respecting people. You can certainly debate and respect somebody, but differ with them on the facts. And then you don't need to attack them emotionally. We are well beyond that type of debate nowadays. And we have big decisions coming up. I don't know what's going to happen in, 54 days or something like that? It's very close. But I can tell you one thing. Either way, it's going to be a tough road. We have been a nation adrift without a budget for almost 4 years. We just upped the ante on our credit card and said, well, let's do the minimum payment, and somebody down the line is going to pay for this damn thing, but it's not going to be us, and we're going to be in power. We have done, in many cases in capitalism, what is legal but is not moral. Pope John Paul was asked which is the best system. There was this big debate between socialism and capitalism. He says neither one's a good system without morality. Neither one is a good system without morality. When you can take crap mortgages, bundle them together, knowing that they're going to fail, doing the big lie and deceiving people that should not be financing a home into financing a home and putting themselves in that type of burden, you are acting criminally from a moral basis. But let me tell you something, not necessarily legally. These derivatives, this crap that they sold around the world, and we are now going to have countries crashing in Europe. It was all done legally, but it's all bullshit. Oh, TV on. It's all caca. And I'm telling you that we are going to answer for this greatly. But the biggest way we're going to answer for it is by what we have done morally, not legally. Corzine said he doesn't know what happened with several $1 billion. It just evaporated. Wow, that's amazing. I hope he doesn't touch my wallet and just disappear. And he's not going to jail. And he's not even being called immoral in his actions. We have people at Goldman Sachs that should be in jail today because they have stolen from the common man. And they will not go to jail. As a matter of fact, there's 9 of them that are consulting with the present president. We have people at Lehman Brothers. The same. So we are uplifting with printing dollars right now a market that has failed us because it has acted immorally, and we're rewarding those who will rape that market during this time because you think they don't know there's going to be hyperinflation? They're taking their stocks, they're taking their profits, they're putting it into gold right now because they know the dollar will fail. They know it won't be worth anything. They're putting it into land in other countries. It is insane. It is insane, and we're allowing it to happen. And the same goes true on a state level. When people think short term, they don't think about the mission of government. And the mission should be far more limited than the one that the federal and the state government has right now. Then we have real problems. There is another way, and it's a way that the beginning of this country started. It's called servant leadership. And if you've ever heard of the servant leadership model, I beg you to look it up on the internet. Started by a guy who was a chief executive of AT&T, in which he said there's a better way to serve a corporation or a company. And he talked about moral leadership, moral capitalism. He was a horrible writer, but thank God the people, me being one of them, that sifted through his bad writing and put it into more understandable terms. There's wonderful books out there on servant leadership. We use that model for our Estamos Unidos 501c3. Leadership Harrisburg trains people in servant leadership. This is what we have to put in the office. We have to kick the professional politicians out and put people like Sue, who the higher-ups in the party were not endorsing her the last time, right? Because she didn't fit the model. I mean, hell, she'll talk to anybody. Yeah. So that's no good. She's supposed to be this professional politician. It's so good at public speaking. Just dresses the way they think they should dress and vote the way they think they should vote. We got to get the leaders out and put servant leaders in. Get the power leaders out of federal government. Put servant leaders in. People that are serving because they believe in the mission. And I'll tell you what the mission of America is. And it is, America was formed on an idea almost simultaneously to the French Revolution. We both had revolutions. We were both saying égalité. We want equality. We want an equal start for every man. The difference was the quote-unquote equal start in France was going to be bestowed upon people, and its protections and liberties were going to be given to you by the government. We believe that every man, whether he's in Saudi Arabia, whether he is in America or Yemen and anywhere else, has a right to liberty. He has inalienable rights. We believe in freedom. We also believe in personal responsibility when we're given that freedom. What we do not believe in is equal outcome, because you can give two people equal opportunity, one will grasp it, another will not. That's because they have personal freedom to choose whether they are going to hold on to that opportunity or not. These are debates we must have. The only reason I hold so many daggone press conferences is because, number one, I believe that the coroner's office, in what I see, tells, by studying how people die, I can tell you how we're living. I look into the bodies of people, and I see cardiovascular disease, and I see what we're doing with our diet. I look into the black-on-black crime that's ravaging the African Americans right now. And it breaks my heart. I just did an autopsy on a 18-year-old kid that just graduated from John Harris the other day. In a nonsensical fight. And he's dead. You don't know what you have no idea what, in this little burg of Dauphin County, what you see. I've had people killed by samurai swords and their heart eaten. I'm sorry if you had bacon today. This is the type of thing I see on a daily basis. I also see the effects of things like cortisol, which is a stress hormone that we have in our body, and what it's doing and ravaging as far as type 2 diabetes and all these other things. Because we live in a stressful environment, and it's going to be all the more stressful. People who are deep in debt, their mortgage is upside down or whatever they call it, the house is, because we've bought into a lie, and the lie is the more material things you have, that's more important than the more relationships and spiritual acuteness you have. We have to get back to servant leadership. A servant leader is there because he believes in a cause. He believes in the mission of the organization. He works with those within the organization right beside him. In Estados Unidos, we have no building, we have no executive director. We build all our leaders from the community itself. We don't go in and say, this is how you should live. We say, tell us how we can help you. Ours is all educational. There's no free cheese, there's no free clothes or anything like that. But I'll tell you what, since in 13 years, we've given almost $70,000 in scholarships away. From an offshoot of that, we've started a bilingual newspaper, my wife and I. It's now in, I think, 8 or 9 counties. If you look at our website, La Voz Latina Central, La Voz is L-A-V-O-Z. L-A-V-O-Z, Latina Central. Central a la Comunidad, the center of the community. Well, we want people to talk about these issues back and forth. It's all based on body, mind, and spirit. Now, I beg you to don't listen to Graham. I'm not telling you even which way to vote in this coming election. I'm telling you to honestly go out and look at where we're going. I'm telling you to honestly look at a 16 trillion debt and realize that that 16 trillion, I'm telling you that that 16 trillion is greater than the entire GDP of all of Europe. Because I can't get my mind around $16 trillion. It's equivalent to buying Apple, the largest corporation in the world, 28 times. And we've done it. We've done it. We've spent it. It's gone. Over 40% of every dollar that the government's spending right now, we're borrowing. And we're going to just print more money. So if we're printing more money, that will become worthless. And that's what the people who are giving us the money, that are lending us the money, lenders, how long do you think lenders are going to lend to us? And who the heck is lending to us? Our enemies. It's insane. We're selling out the house. And I'm telling you that maybe we have left in that house 1 shitter and 2 bedrooms. That's about what we got. And we better start repossessing and get our property back. And the only way to do that is to knock it off with short-term leaders, get people with mission and belief, and we can do it because we are an extraordinary people, because we are founded on an idea that we respect each other and that we're a free people, not the rights given by God, by the government, but by God, so that we can be a nation that can once again say, you know, this is not good, but we can solve it. Right now, we don't believe we can solve it. As a matter of fact, we have people telling us that the new standard is 8% unemployment. No, it is not. It is not. They're telling us that, let me give you a shocking thing. 2 years ago in June, it was the first time in the history of the United States that other countries had more patents than we did. I sat on a board for musculoskeletal transplantation that develops from cadavers how you can make allografts for people who have cancer and have lost bones and replaced bones and all these other things. They're no longer doing R&D. They're no longer doing R&D, research and development, because everything they do is taxed. And they can't afford to do the research and development. We have not made a new antibiotic in the last 15 years because the drug companies are saying, well, there's no money in it. There's more money in Viagra. I can understand that, antibiotics and Viagra. But I'm telling you, we're headed down a road that was not American, because we always could do it. We could put the man on the moon, and we believed it. And NASA changed everything. Even to the very computer or cell phone you have today would have never existed except for NASA, which is, by the way, a government-funded thing. But it was private industry that made it really work. The internet was originally a university-funded thing, not government, but the government condoned it. How has that changed our lives today? Only because that entrepreneurship came in and expanded the internet to be what it is today. So I'm telling you that we are on this precipice. It doesn't matter whether it's state government or whether it's federal government. We have to elect or re-elect servant leaders. We have to elect people that aren't in that office because they feel they need the power, but because they're on a mission. And sometimes I agree with what Sue says. Sometimes I disagree with what Sue says because I'm a cantankerous old guy. But I'm telling you, I'll never doubt that what she is thinking and doing, she's trying to do for the people she represents. Because she didn't need to do this for an occupation or for an ego stroke. And that's why I like to, and that's why I'm standing here today. So we're preaching to the choir to a bit here because you had enough social conscience to know we have to find out what our government's doing. It's all going to come down rather quickly when the quantitative easing ends, and it will end. It'll end shortly after the election, actually, I think, one way or another, because I think Bernanke will be gone, or there'll be no reason to pump up the market anymore because I got 4 more years to do whatever the hell I want. So either way, it's going to go that way. So when that bubble busts, there are going to be tremendously disappointed people because they've been promised one thing and they'll be given another. How do we change this in the future, and what's that rough road? It's going to take personal involvement. It's going to take the communities to get us out of the mess, not the politicians. When we talk about the mentally ill, it's going to be communities pulling together and helping people. When it comes about, in my own case, the dropout rate and the high pregnancy rate in Hispanics, and English as a second language, and all those other things, it takes the community to get down there. There was a Catholic writer, G.K. Chesterton. He wrote the Father Dowling Mysteries and a bunch of other stuff, but he was also a theologian. And he said, the government will dispense mercy as coldly as it does justice. Now think about that the next time you see Grandma sitting in the Social Security lobby there with her number, waiting to get mercy. That's not what we want as a country. That's not who we are as a country. We're people that help our fellow man. We're people that if we have a business, we do things morally right. And we don't cut edges. We don't sell crap to other people in banks. What we are is a people that are born with an idea that man's important, he's given rights, each man is created, and therefore each man is important, from the homeless guy and the crack whore up to the President of the United States. Everybody's important. And we have obligations to help them. So that's what it looks from my body bag, and I got a dog in the car. So God bless you all.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming. Just remember, our door is always open.